Hey everyone, it is late at night and I am Norman. It is that time of the year again, State of the Collection season. And this video is going to be no small undertaking because I'm going to share with you every single watch I own. Well, there are a couple watches that I've never ever worn, like the Ericsson. Those I'm not going to share. But everything that's on my shelf and in my watch box, I'm going to show to you tonight. So we better dive right into it. Alright, so this first watch is actually a piece that I bought way before I was a watch nerd, and I still have it because I haven't felt like paying the money to put a battery in it, make sure it actually works, and even then I don't think it would sell for very much, so it actually somehow has a home on the shelf, and it is this hilarious piece. Monster. I liked it because it reminded me of a deep sea diving helmet, and at that time I was a bit obsessed with that. But it works great for Halloween costumes because it is insanely, hilariously huge. Next up is one of my two smartwatches. This one is super old. And I love how sci-fi it looks. This is like straight out of Star Trek or something. And as you can see, I have never sized it. Look at how huge it is. Hilarious. When I first got it, I loved it, but I have not put it on my wrist in years, and this is cracking me up. Hilarious. The old Sony Smartwatch 3. Here is my other smartwatch, a Fitbit. Well, this is sort of a smart-ish watch. What's cool about this is I was actually able to design some cool watch faces for it. I built one that looks like a Linux console and one that was a grid of dots, and it was kind of a binary watch face. But when Android Studio did an update, I could no longer port them over to this watch because it was no longer accepting updates and no longer compatible with the updated language. I rarely ever wear this thing, but it still looks pretty cool. And it's not quite as huge as the Sony. Also straight out of a sci-fi show. Speaking of sci-fi, the next few pieces are my sci-fi watch collection. I went through a huge sci-fi phase where I was scouring the internet for watches that looked straight out of the future, and this is one of them. There isn't a battery in it because it eats through batteries super fast. When there is one in there, the display shows up right in the middle of this crystal. Super hard to read, but actually really fun. It has a butterfly clasp, so you have to cut it to size. And I really didn't size this one well either. But this is one of the watches that Fossil made in conjunction with Stark, who I think is the designer. I never really looked into it much. So when I bought the next watch, I liked it so much that I decided to get the black variant, where this plastic here is a smoky gray, but I really didn't like it nearly as much as the green, so I never really wore it. Again, as you can tell, I haven't put batteries in some of these, so I apologize for that. Now these take 3 batteries, one to turn the seconds indicator, and one, I assume, for each display. Ridiculous. And here's the green variant. This one is super cool. It reminds me of Space Mountain or Tomorrowland. Super cool looking. And kind of big. Most of these are pretty large actually. Super unique. Next up we have another 1-to-1 watch. I actually have 3 of them. This is a binary watch, and this battery has lasted years. This is the advanced version because you can't really see the indices very well. You have to really know where those dots line up. You can see them on camera, but in life, the mirrored finish of that crystal really obscures them. That is huge. Look at how wide that strap is. But super unique, kind of thin, and just looks like the future. This watch is actually pretty cool. I accidentally ordered a lady's size, so this is actually human size. And it has a light. You can actually read it in the dark. It also has sleep mode, so if you press and hold the button, the screen goes blank, and then when you push the button, it displays for a couple seconds. There it is. Yeah, this one's super cool. I actually went and purchased the men's version of it, but that is way too large for me now, and it needs a battery, so it is sitting in a box, waiting for me to spend the money to do that. I actually really like this watch. This and the next one are my favorite of all my Sci-Fi watches. And here we have a surf watch. This watch is so cool. Look at that green. It totally reminds me of Robotech. I could see a character in Robotech wearing this. I love it. And there it is on the wrist. Again, the strap is crazy. It's just huge. This one also has a light. That's pretty cool. Next up, we have a great watch that I bought from a friend of mine for cheap. It's a quartz chronograph, a Bulova. And it's a nice vintage size too. I don't wear this one a ton, I think because it's so thick, but it looks really cool. I'm glad I bought it. As you can see, it looks great on the wrist. And this one actually came with its original strap, but the first time I went to put it on, it ripped right at the clasp, at the buckle. It looks really, really cool. I should dust it off more often. Next up, we have the Lytronics. And this does not have a battery in it because it will burn through a battery within about a month or so, depending on how often you check the time. And I need to buff this crystal here. But I got this, I think, at a secondhand store. And check it out on the wrist. It needs sized down. This was back in the loose watch days. But if it wasn't a battery eater, I'd have to wear this more often. It looks cool. And the last of the Sci-Fi watches that I ever bought is the Caliper View. I like the hint of orange there. It really needs a tapered Milanese strap on it because it's so wide for a smaller watch. It's kind of thick too. But it looks kind of cool on the wrist. Now you'll see that a lot of my mechanical watches are asleep. I haven't bothered to wake them up and set the time, so I apologize for that. The strap on this is really solid, really well built. The watch itself is pretty solid and hefty too. The Reader's Digest watch. I bought this for about 20 bucks. It's kind of cool, small. And it is the only gold tone watch that I own, actually. Just a little quartz piece, and it looks cool. It's fun to put this on the wrist every now and then. Just to wear a small gold tone piece. Not bad for 20 bucks though. I think it had its original stickers on it when I got it too. And we have a super fun piece by Projects Watches that I bought somewhat recently. It has a sapphire crystal. It's kind of thick, but I like the smaller case size. And it's just super fun and artsy. Check that out. It's just fun. I like it. And we have some classics here. The next three are digital watches that I've purchased since becoming a watch enthusiast. This one I got from my brother for Christmas. Nice affordable gift. And 80s nostalgia. So sweet. And the F91. I bought this at Walmart, totally on a whim. I was on my way, I think, to Kung Fu, and decided I would pop in and buy a Casio F91. I think it was 15 or 20 bucks. And here we go, the last of the Casios. And this was totally the fault of Ben's Watch Club, I believe it was, because he was constantly wearing his and it looked amazing. And he did a couple reviews of it, or a review and a discussion about it. And every time I saw it, I thought to myself, I needed to get one. And I finally did. It looks so great. I love that tapered Milanese. It gives this watch a unique aesthetic compared to the normal bracelet. I love how close to the crystal that face is. And the light actually works. You can actually read it. And segueing into the next batch of watches, we have a couple Russian watches that either I don't really care for, like this one. It just doesn't look great. I like the case and the crystal, but that dial just kind of looks like paper, like someone just printed it on a printer and stuck it in there. And the cushion case, which I actually really love, but the seconds hand is loose. It kind of flops around a bit, so I need to get it serviced.